Today, we'll explore the history of Maasai beadwork through a cultural timeline. While beadwork is often admired for its vibrant colors and intricate patterns, it serves a much deeper purpose. For the Maasai, beadwork functions as a visual language, communicating identity, life stage, social roles, and community values. We'll trace its development from early natural materials to the introduction of glass beads through trade, and then examine how symbolism, ceremony, and even globalization have shaped its evolution. As we move through this timeline, consider how Maasai beadwork has adapted to change while maintaining its cultural meaning. By the end, you should see beadwork not simply as decoration, but as a living tradition rooted in history and intentional design. Before European trade routes reached East Africa, the Maasai were already practicing beadwork. This is important because it challenges the misconception that beadwork began with imported materials. Early beads were made from locally available resources such as clay, seeds, bone, horn, shells, copper, and brass. These materials were handcrafted and required significant time and skill. Even at this early stage, beadwork was not just decorative, it already carried meaning. Adornment communicated social identity, age, and status. The foundation of symbolic communication through color and pattern was already present, even if the color palette was more limited. In the late 19th century, European trade introduced brightly colored glass beads into East Africa. This marked a major material shift. Glass beads were smaller, more uniform, and available in vibrant colors. This allowed Maasai artisans to expand design complexity and refine symbolic expression. However, it's important to emphasize that the adoption of glass beads did not erase Maasai identity. Instead, Maasai communities incorporated these materials into existing cultural systems. The symbolic framework remained intact. The materials simply evolved. This period shows adaptation rather than cultural disruption. As glass beads became more widely used, color symbolism became more visually codified and recognizable. For example, red symbolized bravery and cattle blood, reflecting the central role of livestock. Blue represented the sky and rain, essential for survival. White symbolized milk and health. Green reflected land and fertility. Yellow symbolized hospitality and wealth. Orange conveyed enthusiasm and vitality. Black represented the people and their endurance. Beadwork became a structured visual language. One could read age, marital status, and social role through adornment. During this period, beadwork solidified as both aesthetic expression and cultural communication system. In this period, beadwork became deeply integrated into ceremonial life. Specific designs and ornaments were associated with initiation ceremonies, coming-of-age rituals, marriage celebrations, community dances, and gatherings. Women played the central role in bead production, passing techniques from mother to daughter. This intergenerational transmission preserved both technical skill and symbolic knowledge. Beadwork functioned as a living archive, documenting personal milestones and reinforcing communal identity. It is during this time that beadwork's ceremonial importance became especially visible and structured. The colonial and post-colonial eras brought broader economic and social changes to East Africa. Trade systems expanded and interactions with global markets increased. Scholarly research emphasizes that Maasai beadwork has always been modern in the sense that it has continually adapted to new influences. The idea that beadwork was once purely traditional and later became modern oversimplifies its history. Instead, beadwork has always reflected trade relationships, political change, material availability, shifting social realities. By the late 20th century, tourism expanded significantly in Kenya and Tanzania. Maasai beadwork entered global craft markets. Beadwork production increasingly became a source of income, particularly for women. Selling bracelets, necklaces, and collars allowed women to support their families, contribute to education costs, gain economic agency. While beadwork retained ceremonial meaning, it also took on new economic roles. This period demonstrates how traditional art can serve as both cultural preservation and livelihood strategy. Today, Maasai beadwork exists simultaneously in local and global contexts. It appears in international fashion, ethical craft markets, cultural tourism, global design collaborations. At the same time, traditional symbolic meanings remain active within Maasai communities. Contemporary beadwork reflects a balance, preserving identity, responding to global demand, supporting economic sustainability. Rather than disappearing, beadwork continues to evolve while retaining cultural depth. Looking across the timeline, we see both continuity and change. What has remained consistent: symbolic communication, cultural identity expression, women's central role in production, connection to cattle, land, and community values. What has changed: materials, market reach, scale of production, global visibility. The key instructional takeaway is that Maasai beadwork is not frozen in time. It is a living tradition shaped by history. Maasai beadwork tells a story that spans centuries. It began with local materials and indigenous knowledge. It transformed through trade. It became a codified symbolic system. It supported ceremonies and social structure. It adapted during colonial and post-colonial change. It now connects local communities to global markets. Understanding this timeline allows us to see beadwork not just as decoration, but as a historical document, one made of color, pattern, and meaning.